This tutorial is for administrators with advanced knowledge of source code-based API. Blanco Management Console provides the ability to fetch data through a web service using HTTP or HTTPS. In this video, I will show an example of how to export reports from the Management Console. This can be useful if, for example, you want to automate this process and target an external database or simply save the reports locally. Let's take a brief look at the concept as a whole. First, you have the Blanco Erasure client operating on whatever platform that may be, such as a server, phone, or LUN. The license is consumed, the erasure is completed, and a report is sent to the Blanco Management Console database. Now we come to the API section. You can see in this diagram, numbers 3 and 4 represent different steps in the process of fetching and parsing reports into your external system. Let's take a closer look at these two steps. First, we have the on-demand integration, meaning you wish to send the API command at this very moment. Step 3 is now represented in this first green area. You can see the reports are requested for and received by another program. This could be a web application or asset management tool. The next step is to parse the fetched reports and either write the data to your external database or perform a different action of your definition. Secondly, we have the scheduled integration. You can see the only thing that has changed here is during the fetching of all new reports, where it is now scheduled to occur at an appointed time, such as every 2 hours. Basic authentication must be set for the HTTP request to work. This means you need to define a user with sufficient rights in the Management Console. One option is to create a user that will only be used for exporting reports, whether it is through the user interface or API. We can see here that I have a user named API user and that it has been given a special role that I created called export only, which contains only the necessary authorities to perform this action. I will use curl for HTTP connectivity. However, it is good to keep in mind that almost any HTTP library can be used for this process, including scripting, programming, and even your own imagination. HTTP post is required for sending the request to the server. You will also have to create and modify a request file. Let's run through how to do that now. If you go to the Management Console installation location, you will find a folder named doc. Enter this and integration package. Here you will find a README, quick guide, and a few examples. I will go into the examples folder where we see 2 request files, one for XML and one for CSV. It is good to note that when exporting reports in CSV format, the use of templates is important, as well as defining the necessary columns. You can also create your own templates. Blanco will provide you with an Excel sheet which contains all available columns used for both searching for and exporting reports in CSV format. However, in my example, I wish to export reports in XML format, so I will open the first example file. Here we see the basic structure. The search parameters must be defined here. We see this example request file is searching for processor frequency. The same Excel sheet that I just showed for the CSV columns also applies here for defining the search fields. I will change this to search for all reports that contain an extra field title value of example by changing the path to user data fields extra1 title, as well as changing the operator value to EQ for equals and the data type to string. The data type and available operators are also listed in the aforementioned Excel sheet. I will now copy this file and place it into a separate folder that I have prepared for use with my curl. Here we see all of my necessary curl files. I will also create a new folder called report, which will be the target destination for the exported reports. Next, I will show an example of on-demand report exporting by opening my command prompt as an administrator and navigating to this curl folder. I will now create my commands based on the path to this service, starting with curl, followed by the address of the server, including the port. For me, that will look like this. You will notice that at the end of the command, I defined that an XML report will be generated and placed into the report folder, as opposed to simply displaying the report data directly in the command prompt. Note that if you wish to export reports as CSV, you would change the command in 2 places. Here and here, as well as supply the CSV request file as opposed to the XML request file. I will now run the command. We now see that my report XML has been generated and I can open it to view its contents. Let's now schedule this task to be performed regularly by editing the request file so that the search path shows report stat was exported with a value of 0. Now we will take the same command as before, but place it into a batch file. I will name my batch export.bat. This batch file will then need to be targeted by Windows Task Scheduler to occur as frequently as you wish, such as at 5 p.m. every day. Once Windows Task Scheduler initializes the batch file, the command will be given and all reports that have not yet been exported will be. Other task schedulers can also be used, such as crontab in Linux. This concludes the tutorial. For more information or help, please contact Blanco Support.